Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
And we welcome you to it. This Friday edition of the show. So much to do over the next 60 minutes, and glad to have you with us. All across the U.S. and Canada on over 270 affiliates. And however you may be watching, perhaps on YouTube or listening to the show on the podcast. We are grateful for all of you. All right, so we got a busy show. A lot of people here. Brian Twining will be here from Bleacher Nation later in the show. Does a great job handicapping NASCAR. We'll get his thoughts on the race in Iowa this weekend. Robert Littal will be here from Black Sports Online. He joins us every Friday on the show, most Fridays, to talk about the top stories of the week. We'll get into it with him on the latest on this WNBA trans female player controversy that's kind of rolling around out there. We'll get into it with him on that. Also, Michael Wilbon and Stephen A. Smith. Guys are buddies. Now they're jousting at each other in the media. We'll talk about that. And Kawhi Leonard back in the news for reasons he would rather not be in the news for. Our friend Sam Yarnell is here. He wasn't even supposed to be here. It's Friday. Sam's supposed to be off. He wants to talk so much about the NFL game last night, the preseason opener, that I said, all right, Sam. All right. We'll make a spot for you on the show. So Sam is here as well. But we start things out as we always do. On this Friday edition of the show, it's time for the big story. And the big story is presented by the Daily Wrap, our Substack newsletter. Monday through Friday, all you got to do is scan the QR code. Get your phone out. Everybody got their phones. You're all holding them in your hand. Sit there and scan the QR code. It takes just a second to subscribe. Sign up, and you'll get the newsletter delivered to you every afternoon. And I promise you will be a smarter fan. You will be a smarter sports fan than you are today if you go and subscribe to this newsletter. It's going to give you everything you need that we're talking about on the show every day in a written form. It's not like a transcript of the show. It's its own separate newsletter for the show. So please go and subscribe to that today. Boy, oh boy, did we have fun last night in sports. 3 games, 3 different sports, and 3 wild outcomes. First, you have the world champion Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA. Hey, everybody says we don't talk enough about the WNBA and the games on the court, and Sophie Cunningham's out here saying, don't talk about me and what I'm saying about transgender females playing in women's sports. No, talk about the games. Okay, Sophie, we're talking about the games. You only had 2 points last night, by the way. And the Fever lose at home to the world champion Las Vegas Aces in a classic. The final score was in overtime, 86-84. Here's the game winner, as a matter of fact, from Chelsea Gray. Fantastic finish. And not a great night for Caitlin Clark. Go look at that possession. Yeah, walk it off, Chelsea Gray. You deserve it. Look at the possession here with Caitlin Clark. Oh! Stopped by Asia Wilson, which sets up the game winner for Chelsea Gray at the buzzer, on the road, walk it off. I mean, this is what we watch sports for, right? We're not watching it to talk about something that Sophie Cunningham said. Or later in the show, as we're going to be talking about what Gabby Williams said. We watch sports for moments like this. We watch sports for these great finishes, and you had 3 of them last night as the Aces try to win another championship this season. And it started with Asia Wilson on the defensive end, and it ends with Chelsea Gray winning it on the offensive end. Just a great finish last night in Indianapolis over on Prime TV. Then you had the Red Sox, who just keep rolling. They've won 8 in a row. They walk it off on the Chicago White Sox, 12-11 in 13 innings. They are 30-5 in their last 35 games. I want to repeat that for the people in the back. They're 30-5 on the season in their last 35 games. I mean, that is remarkable. A team that was left for dead until they went into a 4-game series with the Yankees. They swept the Yankees. They got hot going into the All-Star break. They were hot coming out of it. They're 30-5. And now they're essentially tied with the Yankees for the top wild card spot in the American League. Every time I turn on the TV, it's like Caleb Durbin's got another walk-off. Amazing. And they're dangerous right now. Team playing with that kind of confidence. However, what I will remind people of, and I have said this before, we see it in sports all the time. Teams go on these sorts of runs during the season. And then we get to the end of the year, and they don't win a championship. We saw it with the Rockies years ago. We've seen it with the A's. We've seen it with numerous teams. And go on these magical runs that give us great stories, and they're great fodder, and they're wonderful to talk about. But there's been more than enough instances that I can point to, much like yesterday in the big story where we talked about all these teams that were prolific favorites to win Super Bowls, and none of them wind up winning Super Bowls. Well, the Red Sox right now are a team on one of these prolific runs, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to wind up winning a World Series, especially when you consider what's coming out of the National League and that team that plays in Los Angeles. Then there was this. What a wild finish in the Hall of Fame game to start the NFL preseason. Haynes King, who nobody's ever heard of. You won't be drafting him in your fantasy draft, I promise. Haynes King walking it off for Dave Canales and the Carolina Panthers, who were in the playoffs last year. They pick up where they left off last year, get a win in the Hall of Fame game against the Arizona Cardinals, and Carson Beck, who looked the part of an NFL quarterback. I get it. Playing against second stringers, third stringers, fourth stringers, all the stars for both teams not playing in this game. I get it. But even on the first game of the NFL preseason, the NFL showed you why the NFL is still king. Not Haynes King, but King. Because that was terrific. That was a lot of fun to watch. From Carson Beck to Haynes King and everything in between. And seeing Mike Tomlin on the pregame and the halftime show, looking forward to seeing his contributions in the broadcast booth at least for one season. And that's the big story. All right, we got plenty more to do on the show. Sam Yarnell is here. Not usually here with us on Fridays. He's got a lot to say about the preseason opener. We'll get to that and a whole bunch more next. Welcome back to the show. I've had my say in the big story. It's been a lot of heavy stuff in sports that we've had to talk about lately, and last night was one of those nights that reminds you of just how great it can be. Three different sports, three different leagues in different circumstances, and three amazing finishes. This guy wasn't even scheduled to be on the show today. He wasn't in the lineup. He's a late addition. When I said bye to Sam yesterday, I was like, we'll talk to you on Monday. Well, he's here today because he was so amped up about preseason NFL game number 1 last night between the Cardinals and Panthers that Sam Yarnell decided to hang out with us for a segment on the show today. That was, like Dave Canales said when he walked into his presser last night after the game, that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was, Jason. And I'll be the first to admit it. I was wrong on this very show yesterday. What did I say about the Hall of Fame game? Yeah, it's nice because football's back, and it's just good to have football on your TV, and, you know, the under will come in, and it'll be a bad game and whatever, but we would have killed to have this game in June just because it's football. Yeah, it turns out I was very right on the we would have killed to have this game in June bit of all that, but my goodness, I can't remember a Hall of Fame game being this good. It was actually, like, it was so refreshing to have preseason football and an actual good game, like an actual game on national TV that everyone tuned in for, that everyone I think was kind of expecting to be a dud. And you had guys slinging the pill. I mean, Carson Beck's probably going to get, in my mind, Carson Beck's the backup quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals this season at this point. Off of one Hall of Fame game performance, boom. Yep, give the ball to Carson Beck if anything happens to Jacoby. He looks like he's a completely different quarterback than he looked like at Georgia and Miami. On the other side, I mean, what Haynes King, the Georgia Tech kid, showing out for the Carolina Panthers to win the freaking game. Jason, this game made me hyped for football, man. This game did its job. It made me excited for 1 month from now when you and I are talking about week 1 NFL stuff, man. Credit, and it's so hard for me to say this, credit to the NFL, credit to the teams. I know it was a bunch of backups. I know it was a bunch of guys who are going to be, selling or restocking shelves in a couple of months, but hey, they put on a hell of a show on Thursday night, Jason, and man, I would do it all over again if I had the chance.
Well, they'll be on practice squads too, so some of them will latch on and practice squads and things like that, and you make a few bucks on the practice squad. The Carson Beck thing.
You make hold on. You make $20,000 a week on an NFL practice squad. People don't realize that. You stay on a practice squad for a month, you got $100,000.
Not bad. But here's the thing on the Carson Beck stuff. What do you have to lose if you're the Cardinals? I mean, you're not going anywhere this year. Start the guy. Jacoby, we know what I like Jacoby Brissett. Nice guy. Has grinded his way out to a career in the NFL. He just got paid recently, and I know because they pay him, they're going to say they have to start him. But man alive, let me just see what Carson Beck can do, because I'm convinced Carson Beck's one of these guys that is like mid-upper, that can probably hang in this league for 8 or 9 years, win, 9 or 10 games as a starter, 8 games, be that sort of guy that shows flashes, and every now and then we'll be like, wow, look at Carson Beck. Carson Beck can play. I know you've never been a big Carson Beck guy going back to his days at Georgia and then Miami. I know you haven't been as high on him. But man, and again, I know what the competition was. I stated it last night when I tweeted about this. But give me more Carson Beck. If you're a Cardinals fan, what else do you have to look forward to besides that and Jeremiah Love?
Well, yeah, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think that Jacoby Brissett should start every game for them, but you mentioned it, right? At the end of the day, it is a business. The NFL is the business of football, and it is bad business to hand out a new contract to a guy and then not play him. So I don't think Carson Beck's got a shot at starting, at least at the beginning of the season, for this team. But again, my point here is this. I think that they might actually have something down the road. Again, Carson Beck's an older rookie, right? Mm-hmm. He's not a guy who's young and he was a super highly touted prospect, and he kind of blew that. But, it's much like we see in baseball, much like we've seen even this season in baseball, right? There are guys who can be highly touted prospects, not have it work out so much at the beginning of their major league career. In this case, it would be at the end of Carson Beck's college career, but then completely figure it out a couple of years into being in Major League Baseball, in this case being in the NFL. I don't think that door's closed at all. I don't think they'd be in bad hands if something did happen to Jacoby, if he did go down injured, or they did want to maximize on his value and trade him to a team that is a quarterback away at the trade deadline. I think all those things are possible. But again, let's not get too far out ahead of ourselves. He was throwing against third and fourth teamers last night.
The thing is, there's no stress in him. There's just no stress watching him out there. And you get the sense that if Jacoby Brissett either goes down with an injury or they decide to make a change at some point during the middle of the season because they're, 1-5 or something like that, that he's not going to come in. You see a lot of guys who come in and they're overwhelmed at first. I don't think there's going to be any of that with him. Just because, again, all he's done is play in big games. All he's done is play in big environments. And again, in those big environments, while there have been times where he has coming up short, and fallen short, he's also shown that he can shine in those moments. So I'll be interesting to see. You made an interesting point in the last minute here about the possibility of there not being baseball next year and how football might have a chance to sort of fill the gap if there's no baseball next year. I wanted you to expand on that in the last minute.
I mean, listen, the thing that came to my mind watching how good of a game we had last night is, hey, if there isn't baseball next year, which, they might be starting the season this time next year. If there isn't baseball next year, the NFL needs to capitalize on it. They need to take an even stronger stranglehold on the sports world than they already have. Expand the NFL preseason. Start the NFL preseason in late June. Have preseason games in the middle of July when we should normally be watching Major League Baseball games. I don't know. I know that if we don't have Major League Baseball, I obviously doubt that the NFL will actually do that, but I'll get super involved in Canadian football and the UFL and all that kind of stuff. We're gonna start doing some planning, Jason, because I don't think we're gonna get baseball next summer, or at least for part of next summer, and we're gonna have to fill the void somehow.
Yeah, the UFL could be the biggest winner in the United States anyway. The UFL could be the biggest winner in a baseball work stoppage next year. Sam Yarnell, now I mean it. Have yourself a great weekend. You are officially clocked out. We'll talk to you later. Welcome back to the show. Coming up in 20 minutes, it'll be Brian Twining from Bleacher Nation helping us preview and handicap this weekend's NASCAR race in Iowa. They'll be racing through the corn. You ever been to Iowa, Robert Littal?
Yeah, no,
Really?
I'm a Big Ten. I've been to all the Big Ten cities or states, Wisconsin, I've been to Northwestern, Michigan, of course, Michigan State.
Really?
I've been to all of those. Back when it was just, they were all in driving distance of, Ohio. You can drive anywhere. But in the old Big Ten, you can get to anywhere in like 4 hours. Flat.
Robert,
you talking about flat? I'm talking about flat roads.
I know. I've driven through. Because I've done cross country 5 times from Connecticut to California. So I've definitely driven through those places. Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, joins us on this Friday edition of SportsWrap to talk about some of the top stories of the week. All right, I got a lot to get to in 2 segments. Let me not waste any more time talking about Iowa, although we love the fine people of Iowa. Gabby Williams stepping into it yesterday. The Golden State Valkyries star, former UConn Husky, asked about the transgender debate that's taking place, transgender female debate that's taking place around the WNBA and frankly around sports right now. And when asked about the topic of transgender females, she said this.
I think it's trans rights right now is our new battle. That's what I think I was saying, that like the battles have changed. Oh, yes. Like our intention's been the same, but now the environment has changed. We see trans people's rights being, stripped away from them. There's a lot of discourse around trans athletes and where they can compete in. I would welcome a trans athlete on my team or against my team anytime. I don't think it's a problem in the world. It's just another way to kind of attack trans people. We've seen players like Leisha Clarendon who stepped into that forefront and have been brave enough and courageous enough to kind of step up. So I guess that's the next battle that we have to fight as athletes.
Robert Littal, what are we doing? I mean, I've been dealing with this all week in my social media feed. Anybody who follows me knows I've been at the forefront of this conversation on this topic. Because I believe that transgender people as a whole are getting crushed, and that there are people on the political right that are using this as a cudgel against the transgender community. But at the same time, I have fully said 1,000,000 times over, you cannot have biological males, transgender females, playing in the WNBA. What is she doing?
It to me, like you said, it's such a simple topic, and really a topic that's really, in the grand scheme of things, is not something that is actually happening. You know what I mean? I guess what's confusing, to me, in the sense that out of all the major sports, NFL, NBA, WNBA, or all the major female, sports, on a professional level, I don't believe there has been one transgender athlete that has been in a pro women's sport, like ever.
Well, Renee Richards did it in tennis back in like the 70s, I believe.
I mean,
I know, but I'm just saying, for the sake of factual accuracy.
Well, let's use that as an example. So, was the 70s and was it? My math is not great. So, for 56 years, one transgender has crossed, over, and it's a transgender that probably 99%, including myself, have no idea had actually did it. Why is this? Because, like you said, why is this really a talking point? But I think it's what you said. Everything now, you take the topic, and depending on where your political stance is, you weaponize it. So it just depends on what day it is. Is it LeBron this day? Is it Caitlin Clark this day? Is it transgender rights, this day? Is it ICE? Is it the immigrants? Is it the legal system? Everything is weaponized now based on your political, leanings. And I think what happens is if you're someone like Sophie Cunningham, right, or Cheryl Reed, you're on two different. You're saying the same things, really, but it's just being weaponized on two different levels. And that's why all we're doing is fighting over something that's not.
On the Sophie Cunningham side of this, she comes out in the last couple of days, and you could tell somebody in PR or somebody with the WNBA PR, or somebody with the Fever PR finally said, all right, we got to put our foot down on this because this is all anybody is talking about. So now she comes out and says, oh, we should be talking about basketball, and the media is only talking about the off-the-court stuff. And it's literally the case of the arsonist saying, I'm going to put out the fire that I started. And I can't sit here and laugh enough at it because it's so disingenuous. As is a lot of the things that she has said around this, where she's like, oh, I love everybody. Well, it wasn't everybody you went after. It was transgender people. Say you love transgender people. Say that. Coco Gauff gave the most nuanced answer on this, and she's 22 years old as opposed to 29-year-old Sophie Cunningham. So to me, I don't want to hear Sophie Cunningham talking about this as taking away attention from the league. You're the one that set the match on this thing.
Look, Sophie Cunningham is... she wants attention, right? She wants to be a star.
Yeah, she wants her she wants her post basketball career at Fox News. Yeah,
she wants to be Angel Reese off the court. She wants it. Now, Caitlin Clark doesn't want that, right? No. She just wants to play basketball. But if you're Caitlin Clark adjacent, you're going to get a level of attention that you wouldn't have got on any other team. And she has, once again, she has weaponized her friendship with Caitlin Clark to give herself these opportunities. Sophie Cunningham is not in the SI swimsuit issue if she plays for the Portland team. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If she plays for the Tempo. She's not doing the UFC. Nobody even probably cares what she has to say about transgender rights, but she's with the Indiana Fever, who already have a big political thing going on around her. I think it got too big too fast for her, and that's why she's backtracking.
I've got 30 seconds. If the Fever don't reach their expectations, will she be the fall guy, or in this case, fall woman, and wind up taking the hit for it?
You have to wonder, because most of Caitlin Clark's teammates are like her. They just kind of quiet but she's a lightning rod. And do you really want female Draymond on your team while you're trying to protect Caitlin Clark?
And look, if the NFL was so brazen enough to say we're going to keep Colin Kaepernick out, you think the WNBA is not going to keep Sophie Cunningham and her 9 points a game out? I mean, it certainly is a possibility. Robert Littal is going to stick with us. We got more to do with him. Don't go anywhere. Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, and more Kawhi Leonard controversy next. Back to the show. All right, we talked about the WNBA. And by the way, for those that might just be tuning in and saying, but you didn't talk about the game. We talked about the game in the big story. What a great game between the Fever and Aces on
Chelsea Gray.
Oh, yeah.
Like Game 6 Clay.
Yeah, she was something else, and not Caitlin Clark's greatest night either. And Sophie Cunningham only had 2 points.
If I could just say that real quickly,
please, go ahead.
Is that if you took out all the other stuff, right? Is it not more interesting to have interesting players like Caitlin Clark and Paige and Olivia and Angel? Because you want to watch the game, because you're invested in Asia, you're invested in the players. And the games, when I feel one of the things about Caitlin Clark is that when she came into the NBA, I feel like the games have gotten better, more entertaining and stuff. Yeah. And it's too bad that we don't talk about, and not you, but just in general, enough.
No, I agree. All right, Kawhi Leonard. Who saw this coming? Boy, Uncle Tony was just cutting deals everywhere, huh? I mean, now we're finding out he had some side endorsement deal with Daktronics. I mean, what kind of endorsement deal do you even do with Daktronics?
I wish I could find some of these deals. Good Lord.
Me
Give
too.
me some side cut deals. I think, I'm just guessing. I think it's his uncle is really the one that's doing all of this kind of side hustling and stuff. But you have to wonder, the NBA does not want to do anything because Kawhi, it's not like Kawhi Leonard's a young player. He's a star player at the end of his career. If he goes to Toronto, that's great for the Raptors franchise. But stuff just keeps piling up to where you just can't ignore it after a certain point, right? It's been almost a year.
That's what I mean. I mean, they're trying to put their head in the sand on this, but they may not have a choice when all is said and done if all these extra side deals are getting cut.
Also, is it something where they don't want to open the Pandora's box? Is this normal? Like LeBron I'm not trying to accuse you, LeBron, but let's say LeBron makes $7-8 million a year. You don't think there's a lot of stuff you can do in Philadelphia. A
lot of cheesesteak restaurants, man.
Yeah, you got a little Liberty Bell deal on the side or something. Like what are the? I mean, the Lakers put his son on the team. It's not like there's not other stuff you could do to persuade someone to come. It's just the line of legality and morality is kind of blurred.
Yeah, this is not going to be pretty for the NBA. It's a sort of a nightmare for Adam Silver's office. All right, so what do you make of Stephen A. Smith and Michael Wilbon, buds? Guys that we've seen palling around together. We've seen them on First Take together. And now Michael Wilbon comes out and says, by the way, something I said 2 years ago in a post. Yeah. I said this over 2 years ago on X, and it got a lot of fanfare. The fact that Stephen A. Smith is not a journalist, and Michael Wilbon said he's a show. Basically he's an entertainer. He's a talk show host. And Stephen A. Smith has been quick to snipe back as he is wont to do. But I think Michael Wilbon is spot on here. And I say, Michael, welcome to the party 2 years later.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that, like he said, it's not even a controversial type of thing. I think everybody would agree with that. And Stephen A.'s not the only one. I will say this. The one thing that is pushing me to want to leave the media is it seems to me, and I saw this when I woke up this morning, all of the media people now seem to just argue with each other.
Yep.
I see Cam Newton arguing with Emmanuel Acho, and Emmanuel Acho is arguing with Shannon Sharp, and then it's Stephen A. arguing with pretty much everybody, and then people are getting at Jamel Hill every day, and then people, it's like I never knew, I'm sure there was media beef back in the day, but you never saw it publicly. You know what I'm saying? I never knew if Ralph Wiley had beef with Tony Kornheiser, or whatever it may be, I there was no, maybe because there was no outlet for them to Pat McAfee and Aaron Rodgers and the ESPN exec. It's like everything is about everything else, but they're supposed to be sports journalists. So the thing is, I never hear anything about sports from these guys anymore.
No, but I will say this. The McAfee takeover of ESPN is complete. I mean, it is complete. And what happened earlier this week with Aaron Rodgers, it's complete. Or was it end of last week? I don't remember. All the days blend together. But it's complete now. He has completely neutered everybody in management at ESPN. When you can have Aaron Rodgers on there doing what he did, calling out ESPN management, and there will be nothing that comes of it. The takeover is complete, Robert, at this point.
It upset me, not necessarily Pat McAfee, because I just know how he is with Aaron Rodgers. It upset me because we're talking about something, when we talk about sports, to me, that's just sports. That stuff can roll off your back. When you're talking about something that literally killed millions and millions of people, and I think all of us have been affected either personally by COVID or had someone that was affected by COVID. Even if you haven't, you can see someone like Karl Anthony Towns that lost his mother and several. How could you not feel any type of? You don't feel any type of way when you go on a show like that and you're just talking bad about the person that's trying to save people's lives, and just in general, a virus that kills so many people. You're so flippant and arrogant about it. It made me break my rule of arguing with stupid people online, because it upset me, because this is real, like it's real life. And for Pat McAfee just to kind of joke about it really rubbed me in the wrong way. They didn't do anything about it.
And here's the bottom line. He was an advisor to Donald Trump. He could not make policy. The president does that. Everybody needs to remember that.
All right, my brother.
Welcome back to the show. Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. NASCAR's back after a week off, which means this guy's back after a week off. Brian Twining does a great job on all things sports over at Bleacher Nation. NASCAR handicapper. He's going to help you make money this weekend on the race, right, Brian?
I hope so. we got a couple of curveballs thrown by NASCAR heading into the weekend.
All right, explain it. So what's going on? We're in Iowa this weekend after the week off. No Heim time this week because he's actually not even in the race, even though he's won 2 races this year. He's just a part-time driver, so he's not racing this weekend. But plenty of other guys will be. William Byron, your winner of this race a year ago in Iowa. So tell me some of these curveballs that NASCAR is throwing our way.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we're coming off of a legit week off for the entire sport, something we haven't seen in quite some time at this point of the season. So it'll be interesting to see which teams made adjustments, which teams actually took the bye week to do nothing. And then they introduced a new left side tire for this race that we haven't seen in this package. And I believe it was Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ryan Preece maybe, and somebody else. I can't remember the 3 guys who tested on this. And then it comes out 2 days ago that NASCAR decides to do away with the hard set stage breaks. And now if a caution comes out within 10 laps of the end of the stage, they're going to call the stage there. And then
why are they doing this? Why in the middle of the season? This sport is the only one that changes the rules in the middle of the season, Brian. Help it make sense.
Oh, it doesn't. It makes sense to appease the fans, but my first reaction was, why the hell are we doing this with 4 races to go in the regular season? This is something that they should have implemented for the chase or at the beginning of the 2027 campaign. It's a welcome change, but it's not one that they should be making now, because now it introduces so many more strategic ideas and potential nefarious activity by teams to allow somebody who stayed out long to catch a timely caution.
It's like WWE. It's like, we're just going to change the rules. You know what? This match for SummerSlam, we're going to add another wrestler to it. And we're going to add another wrestler to it. Oh, look, now it's a fatal 4-way. It was a one-on-one match. That's what NASCAR is essentially doing here.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the timing of the move. I'm a fan of the move, not the timing. But all told, I don't think it's going to change who's going to contend this week. You're going to have the regulars. You're going to have the Penske group. I do think Joey Logano, again, it pains me to say this, but Logano is going to be a threat this weekend. Austin Cindric, been very popular in the betting world. Penske's just been really good in this package this year. Obviously, William Byron won last season, but HMS is not at the level that they were last year coming into this weekend. So I'm not so sure looking at past results, Byron is somebody that people should be hurrying to the market to bet.
Byron 9-1 over on FanDuel right now. Denny Hamlin is your favorite at plus 470. Ryan Blaney at 5-1. Christopher Bell at plus 550. You mentioned Logano at plus 850. Chase Briscoe and Kyle Larson at 9-1. What's it going to take to get Kyle Larson back in the winner's circle?
An act of NASCAR gods at this point, apparently. I mean, that team just can't get out of their own way, whether they have speed or not. There's always something that's occurring, whether it's Larson's fault, somebody else's fault, the pit crew making a mistake. I just don't know when we're going to see the 5 team back in victory lane.
But it's just, it's incomprehensible to me. It's inconceivable to me, knowing even what I know about NASCAR, for a guy as talented as Kyle Larson, and we could point to the car, but you'd think Kyle Larson would win one by accident by this point in the season. I don't mean literally accident, but by accident he would somehow find a way to get a win.
Yeah, I just think that the Chevrolets and the Fords are so far behind the Toyotas at this point of the season that to me, it's not shocking when you look at that to see that he's struggled and he hasn't gotten a win. And it's really only been Chase Elliott who won at Texas as the lone like HMS guy that's found victory lane in like a legit race.
All right, so give me some of the picks you like this weekend. Some things that stick out to you, understanding that qualifying isn't taking place and all that stuff, but some of the things you like going into this weekend.
Yeah, so I mentioned Joey Logano. The only bet that I actually have heading into the race is a Joey Logano top 5. I think you can get him as long as like plus 150 right now over at like Bet365 or some of the other markets. I mean, obviously shop around. And then for like long shot outrights, I think Ryan Preece, anywhere from that 50 to 70 range is somebody to keep an eye on.
He's at 60. He's 60 to 1 on FanDuel.
Yeah, like he's a guy who traditionally performs well in this package. And the one guy that I'm a week ahead of on is Austin Dillon. I know that's disgusting. I know next week at Richmond is where everybody's going to be focusing on him, but he finished 10th here last year. We had that week off for that team to go to the war room and devise a plan or maybe set up their car somewhat different to try to find more speed. But I think Dillon in the peripheral markets, like top 10s, top Chevrolet, maybe throw a Hail Mary on that one.
With 4 races left in the last 30 seconds I have with you here, with 4 races left, who needs it the most this weekend near that cut line? Guy like Shane Van Gisbergen?
I would actually say like Bubba Wallace
really
needs to perform well this weekend to keep his spot in the chase. And then the aforementioned Ryan Preece, currently sitting, I think it's like 40 points, just around 40 points below the cut line behind Austin Cindric. He needs to really show out this weekend in Iowa.
Brian Twining does a great job on NASCAR with us every Friday on the show through the remainder of the season over at Bleacher Nation. Appreciate it, my friend.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right, it's just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Friday and for another week. A few reminders before we go. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page Weekend Edition. It's this show, only instead of 60 minutes, it's 30 minutes. And it's available on many of these same affiliates. If not, check your local listing for time and schedule. It is the best of the week and sometimes a little bit more. Go and check it out. A couple other reminders before we go. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, the Monday through Friday version of this show in its audio form. It works great as a podcast. You can do it while you're driving to work, on the treadmill, at the gym, while you're laying in bed, while you're in the shower. I don't want to think about that. But hey, go and do that. Subscribe to the podcast. It is fantastic. I promise you, limited commercial interruptions in that podcast. Then we have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place to find all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page on the video side. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show. Commercial free, there for you every afternoon. Go and check it out. We've also got extended conversations, Sports Wrap Originals, Sports Wrap Shorts, All there for you on the YouTube channel, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. We've also got Sports Wrap shorts available on our TikTok at Sports Wrap Jason Page and on our Instagram by that same name, Sports Wrap Jason Page. The website, don't forget about the website, sportswrap.tv. Sportswrap.tv is the place to go for the Sports Wrap website. Everything I just talked about and more available there, including the podcast, including the video version of the show, including Sports Wrap shorts, including the daily Substack newsletter that I talked about at the top of the show. If you have not subscribed yet, you can do it at sportswrap.tv. Go and subscribe today. Also, you can find your affiliate. You want to know where to watch the show Monday through Friday and on weekends? All you got to do is type in your city and state. Boom. I'll tell you where you can watch the show on television. And don't forget the contact info at the bottom of the page. If you want to reach out to the show, send us love, send us hate, send us anything. You can do it through the contact section at the bottom of the page. And now, without any further delay, on this Friday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, and Jahmyr Gibbs, one of those guys kind of holding in, one of those guys that wanted a better contract. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs is getting a deal. Bijan Robinson was the highest paid running back in the NFL for about 5 minutes, relatively speaking, because Jahmyr Gibbs is now the highest paid running back in the league. On Thursday, signs a 3-year, $67.5 million deal. Could be worth as much as $75.75 million. $51.5 million of that is guaranteed. We know how important he is to this Lions offense. It is a record deal for him. And much like it was congratulations to Bijan Robinson, whose average annual value is $22.25 million. Jahmyr Gibbs gets just a little more. Because that's the story in sports these days, isn't it? Whether it's the NBA, Major League Baseball, the NHL, well, maybe not the NHL, so they don't get as big a deal. The NFL, just wait a few minutes and you'll have the new next richest contract. Because that's what we do in the NFL. I said this yesterday on the show. All this talk about salary caps in baseball, and everybody's losing their minds. And I get it. It's been a certain way forever. So I understand why baseball players are hesitant to bring in any sort of change, especially anything that they view as capping salaries. But guys that are great are still going to get paid. Bijan Robinson got paid earlier this week. Jonathan Taylor got paid earlier this week. Jahmyr Gibbs gets paid. Guys all get paid eventually. Even Baker Mayfield will get paid at some point. Or if he doesn't, he'll just keep complaining about it. Odds and ends, Cole Hudson. Why are we talking about Cole Hudson on the show today? Well, Steve Sarkisian is happy to have him back for a 5th year at Texas on his offensive line. Cole Hudson actually was in camp for a number of different NFL teams during training camp time before this first preseason game last night. Nobody wanted to sign him, or at least nobody he wanted to play for. So guess what? He gets to go back to college football. And again, this is part of that new world order that we live in when it comes to college sports and guys being able to, stay for another year. You get a 5th year, red shirts, graduate school. Hey, I want to test the waters of the NFL, see if it works out. It didn't for Cole Hudson. He'll try to go back in next year after one more season at Texas for him. James Harden, not going to do any time. Worked out a deal with prosecutors on a gun charge, a gun possession charge. He had a gun in his car, apparently, or a gun in his vehicle, and was looking at some minor charges as a result. Prosecutors say, we worked out a deal. He's not going to have to do any time. He's not going to have to go to the Who's Cow. And it's one of these things that yet again reminds you, and this is not about James Harden. It's just about the fact we always talk about in sports, there's levels to this. When it comes to crime and punishment, when it comes to the law, there's levels to this. And James Harden is another example of that. You got enough money, you can go get the best attorneys in the world, you wind up getting a slap on the wrist if you're James Harden. If you're average Joe, you're probably going to wind up in bigger trouble than James Harden was as a result of what transpired with him having this vehicle having this weapon illegally in his car. It's the way it goes. And that does it for us on this Friday edition of the show. We'll catch you for Sports Wrap weekends. Otherwise, we'll see you on Monday. Thanks to Robert Littal, Brian Twining, and Sam Yarnell. I'm Jason Page. Bye!